Hello friends, welcome back to Belle's Library. I'm Heather. And today I have some romance recommendations for you guys. I figured this was the perfect time with next weekend being Valentine's Day and everybody just trying to get into a little bit of the spirit of love and romance. So I've got, I don't know, maybe 10-ish books on this list, and I tried to add in some ones that I haven't talked about in a while, or maybe not at all, just to kind of mix it up. And I've got them kind of grouped into some different categories, areas. I don't know. Let's just get into it and we'll see how it goes. My first little category here is a couple graphic novels that I've really enjoyed, and I know a lot of people have really enjoyed this first one I'm going to talk about, and that is the Heartstopper series by Alice Oseman. I believe there's 3 volumes out so far. I've read the first 2, and the 4th one I think is coming out really soon, so I definitely want to continue in this series. This series follows Nick and Charlie and how they kind of meet and start falling in love, as well as a little bit more into their relationship as we get into the novels. And they are just the sweetest, most marshmallowy couple ever, and I just adore both of them. Like, they're just good human beings. They are so sweet, and they're just, I just love them. I just love them. Okay, so if you want to just swoon and just sink into a really good graphic novel, I definitely would pick this series up. The other graphic novel that I have for you is Bloom. Both of these are romances, so I don't have another at the moment, but Bloom is really cute too. Our main character, he works for his parents in the bakery, but after high school, he wants to go out with his band and see what they can do. And so he wants to find a replacement that will work in the bakery. And so in comes our, I can't remember their names at the moment, but he finds someone to take his position at the bakery, and he's like training him, and they just have a really sweet friendship, and it's kind of a friends to lovers relationship, and it's just really cute and sweet, and I really enjoyed this one. So those are my 2 graphic novel recommendations for you guys. So let's move into a few YA books that I'm going to recommend. The first one is going to be When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon. I really enjoyed this one. I listened to it on audiobook when I was commuting back and forth to the hospital, and it was just making me laugh the entire time. Like, it was just really funny. So we're following Dimple and Rishi, and basically they both end up going to Stanford for this summer camp for a couple months, and they're trying to create an app, and whoever makes the best app out of the summer camp gets to like try and market their app and work with somebody who works in that business. So I really appreciated the fact that we had Dimple, who was a female protagonist who's super into STEM. Like, she was the one that really was like into this. And then Rishi, he was there because he was trying to meet Dimple, and he thought that their parents were trying to arrange them getting married, and Dimple had no idea what was going on. So we have Rishi, who's just kind of this awkward kid, and he just wants to, you know, be a part of his family. Like, he's a big family person, and he creates comics and stuff like that, and they just, oh my gosh, their meet cute is hilarious. So you just need to read it and just, yeah, get to the meet cute. It's fun. So next up, I'm gonna recommend one of Jen Bennett's books. She has a ton of YA books, and a lot of them are really great. I've read like 3 or 4. I would have to say, at the moment, Starry Eyes is my favorite. It does kind of change sometimes, but I really enjoyed the camping aspect of this one. I read this one during summer, and I think it is a really good summertime read. But I mean, if you're really craving summer, then you might just read it right now, and it may bring you to being in the outdoors and camping and all that good stuff. So we basically are following Zori and Lennon, and they used to be like the best of friends, and then all of a sudden they just weren't anymore. They had this big falling out, and then they go on this camping trip, and they think they're going with other friends, but then like those friends were going together, and so they end up being there in the group. So they end up by themselves on this camping trip, and kind of, I guess it's a second chance romance, sort of, but they didn't have a romance before, so friends to lovers, it's kind of a mix of the two. I really enjoyed the camping and the outdoors, and I could really get into that feeling, and there were certain moments where Zori was talking about like how she likes to plan and she's very organized, and I just was like, I connect to this. But then there was other moments when Lennon was talking about how much he loves being outdoors and how much it gives him some space to just like get away, and I totally connected with that. So I like this one. It's fun. Read it. So another really fun summer read that you can, same idea. I read it during the summer, but I know it would be really fun to read any time of the year, is Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. And this one's by Morgan Matson. This one is kind of a road trip story. We've got, Amy. So we have Amy. I love how, like, literally their names are in the title, and I'm still looking at the back like, what are these characters' names again? I did that with When Dimple Met Rishi just a minute ago too, so So Amy's mom, basically, they are moving across the country, and she has tasked Amy with driving the car across the country because her mom needs to get there first to start her job and stuff like that. And she also gets Roger, who is like a neighbor that she used to know, to come with her to help her because she's not super comfortable driving anymore because there was an accident. And Roger needs to get across the United States to go visit his dad. So it kind of works out. And so they end up kind of detouring into some other fun areas. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this book, let's see if I can find it, is they have like fun little flyers from their trips that they take. So that one's like a Yosemite trip and just like pictures, and they'll have like receipts and menus so that you have some fun like mixed media thrown into this one. So that makes it kind of different and unique and fun, and I really, really like that. So this next one, I think I've mentioned on my channel maybe 1 or 2 times. I haven't read this book since I was in high school, I think, so it's been quite a while. I don't know if it stands the test of time. I really should probably reread it this year and see, but I just wanted to throw something different in here, and this was one of my absolute favorite books. So we have Scribbler of Dreams by Mary E. Pearson. This book follows Caitlin, and she loves to like write and journal, and she ends up going to a new high school, and she runs into Bram, and they start falling for each other, but Bram doesn't know that Caitlin is a Malone, and he's a Crutchfield, and their families do not like each other. Basically, the dads have a really big falling out, you could say, and their families have hated each other for generations. It is like a Romeo and Juliet type of retelling, but I adored this when I was younger, so highly recommend this one, and I'm gonna have to give this one a reread very soon. So the next book is a Taylor Jenkins Reid book because I just adore her, and it is After I Do. And this one follows a couple who has been together for like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, something like that, and they realize that they've kind of fallen out of love with each other and they don't really know what to do about it. So they decide that they're going to take a year off and they're going to live separately. They're not going to talk to each other or communicate with each other, and they're just going to kind of see what that year brings and what they want to do at the end of the year, and then they will come back together at the end of the year and see where they're at, if they want to continue their marriage, if they're ready to split ways, yada yada. And during that year, anything goes. So I really enjoyed the fact that this explored a couple that was already established. So that's kind of, I guess, my next little category here is already established couples, because you know what? That beginning phase only lasts so long, and it makes a really great book, but sometimes you want a couple that is struggling and they love each other, but they just haven't got it all figured out years and years down the road after they've been together. So I really enjoyed that one. And that kind of leads into a little bit of the next one. So the next ones that I'm going to recommend, one of these books in this series falls into this category, but we're going to kind of start into the new adult area as well. So we're going to talk about the Wild series. So we have Simple Wild, and then Wild at Heart, and Forever Wild is the new novella that just came out. So Simple Wild, I adored last year. It was one of my absolute favorites of the year. And it follows Jonah and Calla, and they have kind of a hate to love thing when Calla comes to Alaska to see her father, who she's been estranged with for a really long time, and he gets some really bad news about his health, and so she comes to Alaska. But Jonah immediately does not like her. They start bickering, and things ensue from there. So you're kind of following this really fun bantery relationship between the two of them. And then also you have a little bit of depth to the story as Calla and her father trying to work on their relationship. And she gets to see how her father lives and just kind of has to reframe her whole idea about her father and what she's made in her mind because they have been estranged for so long. It's a beautiful story. I loved it. It was a 5-star for me for sure. And then we have Wild at Heart is the second book in the series, and that's where it kind of falls into that established relationship trope. So we have Jonah and Calla after they're established and they're trying to build their lives together and kind of how that looks. And then the last little novella is about Christmas with their families. And so that one was really fun to read around the holiday season. My other new adult recommendation for you guys is The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart. I haven't continued to The Guy on the Left or The Guy in the Middle yet, but I really, really enjoyed The Guy on the Right. I think it was a really fun, like quirky story where we have this band geek and he's following for this perfect girl, and he also lives in a house with 2 other men, and one of the guys is a serial dater in a way, and he gets all the girls, and so when this girl sees him, trouble ensues, and it's just, honestly, like that's kind of how they frame it, but it's much sweeter than that, and I really enjoyed our main protagonist in this. He was just ooey gooey, marshmallowy, and I really, really loved his character, and I loved the band geek side of it. Like, it was really fun, but he wasn't like super geeky, and he just kind of got to be his own person, which both of them were really like their own people. They kind of knew who they were and got into this relationship kind of knowing that, and I really appreciated that. Okay, so the next one I'm going to recommend, I can't really have one of these romance recommendations videos without a Christina Lauren book, so I'm going to put The Unhoneymooners in here because I adored that book, and it is super fun, and I think it would be perfect for Valentine's Day coming up here. So we have a little bit of fake dating and a little bit of hate to love. So hate to love is probably one of my favorite tropes, and I think that's why I really clung into this one. So basically you start out at a wedding of our main character, her sister's getting married, and they are twins, and then on the other side, the best man and her do not get along. They clash majorly. Well, everybody gets food poisoning at the wedding, and the bride and groom are supposed to go on this honeymoon to Hawaii, and they can't because they're just deathly ill, and the only 2 that don't get sick are the ones that can't eat all the seafood, and that would be the best man and the maid of honor. So they end up going and pretending to be the bride and groom, and they haven't liked each other for years. But then they kind of have to do this fake dating thing, and it turns into love, and it's very, very cute, and I really enjoyed it. Okay, I've got 2 more. The next one is an office romance. This one's also hate to love. I guess I should do like a whole video on hate to love romances. The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. If you haven't heard about this one, it is a really fun book about Lucy and Joshua. They work literally with 2 desks across from each other, working for the 2 CEOs of this book publishing company, and they are just complete opposites, and they play this hating game at work. That's all you really need to know. Like, it's super fun and cute. I just adored it, and I want to reread this one this year too. So maybe this one will be coming up. Maybe I'll just like do a bunch of romance. I do not have like any romance on my TBR from Belle's Bookland, and I'm kind of bummed, and I'm really hoping that next month I do get some. You'll have to check out my video for that. I'll put it up top and down below. But it was really fun. It was my first month doing a TBR game. But yeah, I didn't get any romance, and I was like, no. Okay, so my very last book is going to follow into the sickly sweet romance. Like, this book was just, like, it was just very, very, very over the top sweet. Like, wow, sweet. And this is What You Wish For by Catherine Center. I really enjoyed this one, and the imagery, oh my gosh, of this school is just, in the library, it was just beautiful. Like, they painted this school basically in all these fun colors to make it fun for the kids, and all these murals and everything, and then this new principal shows up, and he's like Mr. Gray. He wants to paint everything gray, he wears only gray, like everything just, you know, he wants to turn the school into like a prison. So the librarian, she's Miss Quirky, colorful person. They clash, but they also knew each other from years back when they used to work together in a totally different state, a totally different school. And yeah, it's just, yeah, very, 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 very sweet little romance there. Again, some hate to love happening in there, so that's just my taste, I guess. Anyways, those are my fun romance recommendations for you guys. I hope you pick some of these up, and if you have other romance recommendations for me, definitely throw them down below. And I would say anything like Valentine's Day-ish, like maybe a rose or heart or some kind of fun emoji to that effect. I would love to have down below as well, showing that you got this far. If you guys haven't already, definitely click subscribe, and I will talk to you guys super soon. Bye.